To another episode of Starseed Activations. Excellent. So, my name is Danielle Lipton. I am a channeler of star people, and I'm also an author of a book called My Ascension Guide. You guys can find that book on Amazon, KDP. It's wonderful. So, you guys sent in questions. We have a lot of them this week, so we're going to dive right in. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so incredibly much for coming. So, the first question: what is the difference between Earth souls and star seeds? How are they different? So, a star seed is a soul who reincarnated here onto Earth in order to assist in the evolutionary processes. Normally, star seeds hold a slightly higher frequency because of their past life incarnations with different extraterrestrial or inner or extra dimensional races, because a soul form can vibrationally become in alignment to multiple lifetimes, multiple dimensions. Now, a dimension can be expressed as, it's sort of like a different perception of, let's take the human consciousness grid. So the human consciousness grids, each human incarnate here on the planet is holding a different perspective of this world, this reality. Each one of those perspectives may be expressed as a dimension because it is just a slightly different world that we are all co-creating together. But because it's slightly different, they're seeing different things in their reality compared to what we're seeing. Now, the reticular activating system, which is located inside of the neocortex, allows for that different perspective. That system allows you to see different things in the photo of life. So if you took everything that you see and you push it back, we see that as one photo. And so your mind allows you to see particular things, and yet someone else's mind allows them to look at different things. That's a different dimension. That's only one aspect to the dimensional realities that we currently exist in, because there are different realms, and the different realms include different color frequencies. So, for example, anyone who's ever taken a psychedelic drug or plant, the star people are correcting me. I personally haven't, so I can't really speak on them, but I can tell you there is reports of them seeing different colors, different types of mandalas, different visions. And so what all of that is different dimensions. So the second that we recognize, okay, there is different dimensions, there's the inner dimensions, which come from the inside of the being. So many times those inner worlds, they come when we need them. And so we may access them many times through crisis. You may pull the soul form in the inner layers, and it may allow the individual access into the inner realms. This happens when a soul no longer wants to be in this current reality. It is kind of, they're showing me like the source frequency, granting access into the inner realms when the individual can no longer exist here. When you're not in alignment for an earth-based life, it sucks you in. Sometimes we call this a coma. So the coma is the soul form pulling the soul inward and accessing the inner worlds. And then, of course, the physical form is still here in the physical reality, but it's not being utilized. So there's different forms of that. The star people want now, because we're in the topic, they're saying we have to expand just a tiny bit more. When an individual is in a coma, there's two types. There's the one which the soul form can access the inner realms, and there's the one in which the soul form is still stuck in the body and it is unable to communicate into the physical world. That's kind of like a holding period, the star people are saying, and it actually allows the individual that time of solitude to really grow and expand the consciousness. So many of us here in the physical reality, we may have spent extended time in solitary, and that specifically was so we could get to know who we are as a person again. What do we like? What do we dislike? What are we capable of doing? Are we capable of spending extended periods of time in solitary? When we do that, we really start to cultivate the relationship with our own soul form. So many times we may start to summon or call down the higher self to take the seat in the heart when we spend extended times alone. Whenever you start to notice that you are spending time alone, it's always good to have a nature outlet, even some grass to go place your feet on, because it's going to allow you that opportunity to ground and connect in with the human consciousness grids. That's very important. So a starseed soul is a soul that came here from a different planet in the last or one of the second to last reincarnations. Now, many times it's in the energetic complex. So some individuals, their power of vision has been open and activated so that you can see the aura or the energy field surrounding the person. So many people here on earth who have opened that ability, they can see your soul form and where you came from in the last life. But they're saying it's also two. So it's amazing. Can you guys on Facebook, can you see the photo? Can you guys see good? Because it is on the live. Okay. When we start to recognize that we are able to go into the inner realms as well as the extra realms. Now, the extra realms, just imagine for 1 second. We are able to see with a microscope different aspects of this physical reality. So whereas once upon a time, we didn't see bacteria. We didn't even recognize that it existed until someone got a microscope or invented the microscope, and then they started looking. When they started looking, the outer realms expanded. When the outer worlds expanded, it actually allowed us into a different dimension, because now all of a sudden we can see, and we could see the bacteria because we have expanded. The universal grid structures work as a fractal. So that means the more we place focus and attention, it starts to make that sacred geometric structure, and we can expand out and out and out, and it's infinity. So we can look to the outer worlds to infinity. We can look to the inner worlds to infinity. But then when we start to come inside of the consciousness ourself, we start to hold neutral. When you stop focusing on the outer worlds and the inner worlds, and you just hold neutrality, it is okay for the outer and the inner worlds to exist. When we hold neutral, it actually allows us into the density range. Now, the density range is very high value to each and every one of us, because the way that we can start to tune into 5D frequencies is through the density. Now, the density, just imagine for one moment that you as an individual start to eat salad. Let's say you ate salad for 1 whole week. That salad that you eat is going to make you feel lighter. So what happened? Now, each and every item that we experience or interact with, whether it be something you're smoking, something you're eating, something you're drinking, that item has a vibrational frequency. And so that vibrational frequency starts to energetically bond inside of your body. And then all of a sudden, if it's a lower frequency, you're going to feel heavier. If it's a higher frequency, you're going to feel lighter. This is why many times when people start the process of evolution, they start doing things like meditating, the old patterns or cycles start to fall out of their lives. So if you are a big steak eater, sometimes people, they lose that intuition to eat the steak. That's okay too. You have to always follow your own intuition as far as what items or what meals or foods, whatever it is that you're interacting with, as well as experientials, the star people are saying. For each experience you have may also be of a positive or lower vibrational alignment. So when we start to pick and choose what we wish to engage with, it'll grant us access into the density realms. Now, the star seeds, our density of the soul, not the physical form of the actual soul. It is a little bit more evolved in its nature, which means that the soul form itself has been through the process of evolution. So many times we come from at least minimum 5D, and then we drop down into this 3D form in order to allow us the opportunity to hold a higher frequency. When we hold that higher frequency, it allows more light to shine through. And so many times the star seeds, we feel like we have been more loving, caring, kind our entire life. And this is strictly because it is something that comes from the soul form, because a soul is advanced. Now, the human souls on the planet, and this is okay too, to just have a human soul. Many times we look at the human souls, many of them, not all, many of them are still very 3D focused. So the star seeds, we actually get triggered by whatever we call them home base, but home family or star people family that we came from. They guide us and support us. And it's kind of like they jumpstart us along our evolutionary path. So we go through the wake up process and they're there to assist us. Now, when they assist us, they usually start by showing us number patterns. This is what synchronicity is. It's seeing 333 on a license plate or a clock, or it is seeing 1111. That's another famous one. If we see 1219, that's a call to action. That's a call that the starseed is ready to start his or her mission. So your star family is going to be sending you signs and synchronicities, including animal synchronicities, in order to allow us the opportunity to expand the perception of this world. Now, once again, the perception of this world allows us to start healing. Healing is always going to be the first thing that we do. And so you have to heal your mind. When the way you heal your mind is by expanding, what do you believe in? You have to heal your belief systems, because we've all been programmed from an early age to believe that we are in a physical reality. That is not the case at all. It is all made of light and ions. Now, because it is made of light, this is why Einstein said it is mind over matter, because our mind can take a crystal and it can change the crystal. That's how powerful the mind is. This is also known as instantaneous manifestation abilities. This is very real. The second that we clean up the density levels, it allows more light to shine through. And when you want to make instantaneous changes, you have to have a significant amount of light to allow the change to appear instantly. Many times we go through changes, and it's easier to change or manipulate matter if you already have something. So many times a person may come along and the person may put a different crystal in the hand. And so, but the more and more we just believe that we have something or the crystal changed, the more it's going to start to seem like a person will do it at first. But then second and third, you may start to see it instantaneously just shift. This is also the reason why the human body is designed to blink. Some species, they don't have to blink. The human has to blink, because when we blink, it gives the opportunity of the flicker rate. So sorry, something happened to my phone. It gives the opportunity of the flicker rate, which is a holographic simulation. So the simulation flickers like a picture with a picture behind it and a picture behind it. So because we are able to blink, we have the ability to access. It is called a quantum timeline jump, is what the star people are saying, because we can close our eyes and we can just ever so gently visualize the location that we wish to be in alignment with, being in the present. Then all of a sudden, when we open the eyes, you will eventually start to manifest that instantaneous timeline jump. What you did was you move through time and space. Just imagine that there's 1,000 photos in between. The 1,000 photos in between is you taking the steps to get in the car and go to the beach. And then you're at the beach. But what we can do, because we have the ability to blink, is we can close our eyes at this flicker rate, and we vibrationally skip through time and space. And when we open the eyes, we are in the location B. So having eyelids and blinking is an absolute blessing for this level of consciousness. Of course, when we start to raise in density level, it's going to allow the rainbow body of light to activate. And when the rainbow body of light fully becomes activated, then we are going to be able to make instant changes without the need of the eyes, because the third eye will become fully open and unlocked, and it shall allow us the perception of being one with the entire simulation. So it is a perception above time and space, in which you do not have to work among the confines of time and space. Time and space, dear ones, we like to show as a rotating cycle repeat or a frequency bandwidth to the left, to the right. But the truth is that it comes from above and down the physical form. Now, your consciousness determines the rate of that flow of the time and space. You see it like a spring, but in reality, it is more like a strand of DNA. One is electrical, one is magnetism, and it swirls around in a vortex energetic, and then it goes up, which makes it seem as if it is a light tubule. This light tubule connects your physical form in with the higher self. That higher self controls how you perceive time and space. For when you are extremely happy, you shall allow access into the time and space tubule, which shall allow you the perception of instant manifestations when you are in a higher density level. This is important because this is how we start to access 5D frequencies. So when we start to really tune in and do the shadow work and releasing the densities, it will allow us to just hold more love and light. Love is key because love is kind of like a gateway, a stepping stone to get us into bliss. And then we start, there's higher frequencies, higher than bliss. So what the star people have been training me to do, and it's like a baby step process on this one, but we start to hold what would it feel like to be a saint. And this is something that each and every one of us, we have to imagine and we have to visualize it. But just imagine, how would it feel like to be at that very high frequency level? How would that feel? It's above love. It's above bliss. It is pure peace, joy, and it is a knowing of being unconditionally loved, which is higher than love because it's love for everything. And it's love for all good, all bad, all experiences. It's love that accesses multiple dimensions and inner worlds and extra worlds. So when we start to really imagine and visualize the higher frequency range, it's going to give us access into more of those high frequencies. There's an entire range that is, it's not really, I was going to say hidden from humanity, but the star people don't use that term because it's not hidden. It's just we're unaware of it. And because we're unaware of it, we're not able to access it. Now, grounding these frequency codes into the physical body is key because when we ground it in, it's going to allow us to shine a little bit of that frequency. Now, I want each and every one of us to remember that when that knowledge comes into our mind, it is power, because that means that the knowledge has been grounded into the human consciousness grid. Now, it's sort of like having the awareness. So once upon a time, we had these pictures, and the picture, you had to stare really close, and then you had to back the picture away so it crossed your eyes to see through the picture. That awareness came to humanity with one person who channeled the knowledge into the reality. The second that one person knew and he started sharing that information with multiple people, it allowed the consciousness to shift, and then it caught on like wildfire, and then everyone was doing it. This is how the consciousness raises in frequency. We only need a handful of people to ground in certain knowledges, and then all of a sudden their aura field becomes fine-tuned to allow that manifestation to come to humanity. And then all of a sudden, you have a bunch of human beings who just activated the extrasensory abilities. And now we are starting to bring real change into the simulation. Because the second that enough of us become fully awake and aware that, hey, we all have extrasensory abilities and they're really easy to hold and to activate, all we have to do is really open our hearts and shine love and light and just be interested and passionate about what it is that we want to do. Most of us, we have the calling inside of our heart to allow us to want or desire to live in a peaceful planet. We want to live where we're able to communicate and love the animals, which we can already see right now. Every single animal on this planet, including the insects, there has been a human bonding or emotional bond formed. So we have TikToks where people are having cows and they are having relationships with the cows and they love the cows. There's relationships with bees. There's relationships with every single animal, insects, even the sharks. People are petting sharks and playing with them, calling them underwater puppies, right? And so, but this has all been foretold in different religious texts. When they start to say things of the nature like, we are going to develop communication with the animals to such a degree in which it shall allow peace and love to form between human beings and animals. When that process happens, humanity is not going to want to eat these animals. That is not right now. That is in the future, right? So many times when we start to raise our frequency and we recognize that these animals are capable of love, true love, like a pet, would you want to eat your cat? Not at all. So we're not going to want to eat the animals in the future. But the nutrition value of the plants must first shift into the higher frequency ranges, the star people are saying. Because when your body starts to get the full nutrition that it needs from only plants, then eating the animal-based proteins is no longer going to be required. Is there really a firmament that we cannot go through that's around the earth? So that's a really, really good question. Now, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth talks about there being a it's like my starman is saying there's a type of stargate that is above the head. That stargate is directly connected in with the firmament of your planetary system because it is a frequency bandwidth, and you have to have your frequency must be fine-tuned to allow you to pass through that frequency bandwidth. So the answer to that is yes. We have to have a fine-tunement. Now, there's different words, there's different vocalizations, as well as snaps, clicks, and also different vibrational frequencies that the human form is capable of sending into the simulation, which can do things like open portals. No, they will not tell me, because if they told me, I would share it with you guys, right? How do we do it, Star People? Tell us. But in time, we are going to have access to that knowledge when it's safe for humanity. Right now, it may not be safe for us to do things like that. And so it's always a baby step process, but they want us to know it is readily available. So it's already in the consciousness grid. If we really wanted to manifest the experience, we would take every waking moment of our conscious awareness and place it on activating portals. And then all of a sudden that is going to expand for the entire collective, and we are going to be able to open portals. Now, the firmament is only one layer to the simulation because there's different portals that take us to the 9 realms. The 9 realms are different planetary. He's saying it's like a universe. And just imagine, because the way that the system works, it's infinity is what it is. But we have our Earth. We have all the planets. Then we have all these planets, which make our Earth look like this, like super tiny. We're microscopic compared to some of the planets in the solar systems that we can see. So, but that always expands into infinity. So there's no end to space. There's no end to the planets. But now imagine all the planets and everything that we can see is here, and it's actually embodied in one celestial. So one celestial is kind of like this entire reality, and all of the planets and all the people in it is built into one celestial body. And we know that as a source frequency or God. What the star people have told me, there's other celestial beings out there. So, and those celestial beings contain their entire solar systems and all their planets. And it's like, wow, right? They have the celestial has a consciousness of all of the planets. This was in a movie. What movie? The Eternals. So the Eternals talked about the planet, and it had to have a certain amount of consciousness in it. And then all of a sudden there was a body being, they had to break up the planet. That's like the fear-based. That's not really how it works. But there was a consciousness inside of the planet that was birthed when the consciousness on the planet became of a certain size. That's actually how it works. But imagine taking that to the 10th degree. So it's all of the planets. It's everything that you see in our space and solar systems, all of the beings, that is one celestial, which to me is like wild. It's like, wow. So that's one person. So we can contact that person, and that's source frequency. But there's other source frequencies out there. So just imagine we are able to take our soul form and go back up to the higher self. We would have to be able to go with that soul form from the higher self into the source frequency, and fully, you have to vibrationally expand outward into that source frequency. So he's like, you have to get a momentum going, and that's a very, very high level of evolution, he's saying. But just be aware of it, because it's going to manifest in your future, maybe in 1 billion years in consciousness terms. When your frequency resonates out, it's going to grant you access to see from the celestial body of the source frequency. Then you're going to have an awareness of there's other celestial beings. But once again, we always go through that solitude, and we have to learn ourselves. So that's part of the process as well. So being a celestial, we're going to have to go inside and, okay, well, here's all the people, here's all the planets, it's all the cells in the body the star people are seeing. We are doing it on the micro level. So we're coming into the awareness of, okay, how many trillions of cells are in the human body? That's what the celestial being or the source frequency goes through at that level. Here's all the cells in the body. Here's the planets are like the major organ systems. Everything is all connected. Okay, so this is the micro level. That's the macro level. That's expanded. It's big. So when we start to do this, of course, we recognize and we go up. And then there's usually a term of solitude. So we recognize we are one with everything here in this reality. And then we bring in a second celestial, usually makes contact with us. And then we start to reflect and go through our cycle repeats on the entire solar system levels. That's deep. That even allowing that concept to really like sink in for one moment is like, wow, let me take a sip. Excellent. Okay. That was only the first question. What was this, a half hour with one question? We're on fire today. Okay. Can I elaborate on the hybrid children? So I have hybrid children. I know I have a couple. There could potentially be, there's a couple from different races with me personally. And then I have my Starman, and I've actually carried his child for about 2.5 weeks. So the hybrid children, this is very important to recognize. Many of us starseeds, we came here and we set contracts in place before coming here to allow us in a human form to not remember these contracts, so that it allowed different extraterrestrial races where there are star families. These are who these people are. These are star families. They're not just random strangers. They know us. For the most part, when we're talking about the star people, we are not talking about the Greys. The Greys are humans from the future. That's a whole different situation. What we're talking about is specifically the star people and their hybrid children they wish to clarify. So what they've done is they've had soul contracts in place with us before we reincarnated here, so that we would agree to give them a couple eggs, so that it would allow the genetics to expand and it would allow these hybrid children to be manifest. Now, the hybrid children, there are talks. No one knows what the future is going to bring, but the hybrid children may come down to Earth one day to allow there to be less division between extraterrestrial races and humanity. No one's going to hurt the hybrid children because they're our children. And you're going to have real parents like me step forward and say, that is my child, and you are not to touch my child, things of that nature. When they come down here, the human consciousness grid and unity consciousness is going to also be activated. So the star people are stepping forward, creating, and they're like, you won't have to do that, because you guys will all know that you're one. And there won't be any war or violence, because everybody is going to recognize that we are all one. And that is going to bring us more into a peaceful, polarized planet. See? So sometimes they like correct it. It's amazing. The hybrid children come in all races and all forms. They do have at least one of the parents must be human in their nature. And because one of us is human, the child may look like a human and a star person race. It comes in all shapes and forms. Some of the star people are Arcturian. They're blue. They all come in different shapes and forms. Which is it? The Pleiadians, they look like humans. They're blonde hair and blue eyes. So some of the children look like us. Some look like humans, but their head is slightly bigger. Their eyes are slightly bigger. That's okay too. Because we have this one level of evolution is going to allow us to be okay with any and all body types. So we have to recognize there's billions of planets up in the solar system. That means every single insect and every single animal that we see here on this planet has a potential to raise and evolve to such a degree in which it allows that species, whether it be a lizard, a butterfly, or an owl, to evolve into a humanoid form. Now, this has also been shown to us in different movies, because anybody who's had contact with different extraterrestrial races can recognize that there's reptilians, there's regular humanoids, there's also, it's like gas beings, there's mermaids are real. So the dolphins and whales, they're highly intellectual. Their brains are bigger than ours. They know a lot about the history on the planet, and they know how to communicate utilizing sonar. Now, when we start talking about the mushroom, what is this? Let me see. Because I have this. Using mushrooms to access Mother Earth's nervous system or electrical systems. The electrical systems are the thoughts of humanity's past, future, and present. The mushroom kingdom, the mycelium kingdom, allows access into the human consciousness grids. And so this is of high value to each and every one of us. There's a reason why utilizing mushroom tea allows for us to heal the human form. That is because any information in the nervous system that needs to be reprogrammed, we can cast energetics, which the mushrooms are the nervous system. They are electrical in their nature. They contain a high sense of chi energetics. If you can eat them raw, that's even better, because you're going to get that electrical right into your system in its full potential. The second that we add heat to it, it dims or dulls the electrical charge to it. So whenever we have it raw, that's best. We make tea. A lot of times what we can do is we can do something known as telepathy with the mushroom kingdom. Now, when we start to ingest the tea, it is important to hold the tea in your hands in a cup, close your eyes, smell it, and imagine being one with the mycelium kingdom. Now, it's kind of like a nervous system that goes all throughout and underneath the grass. It goes in the forest and the trees. It connects to everything in Mother Earth's surface. And so that mycelium kingdom, it allows for electrical impulses to be sent over vast distances. This is how Mother Earth controls which location according to which frequency. This is important because when a starseed takes his shoes off and goes stands on the earth and tells Mother Earth, I love you, what you're actually doing is you are generating an electrical thought, which is electrical in its nature, but it is being cast through the soles of the feet. And so because it is being cast through the soles of the feet, this mushroom kingdom or mycelium net, it's kind of like the World Wide Web, is underneath the ground. So it like captures your electrical thoughts, and then all of a sudden it broadcasts it out. So this is how we are capable of changing the frequency in any location. So the second that we start to recognize that there is any type of chaos or distortions in a location. So let's say we start seeing things that we may not like in our current locations. So the town, the people, everything is crazy, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. The second that we notice this, we take our shoes off, we go stand on the earth, and we send Mother Earth love and light, because then she's going to raise her frequency in your location grid, which in turn is going to start to have an effect on all the people in a 10 to 20 mile range minimum. Now, this process can also be done with using the earth and the mycelium kingdom, but it can also be done through just meditation, not even stepping on the earth. So the power of meditation, it reaches the human hearts instantaneously. That is more magnetic in its nature, because each heart, it contains the emotions of that being, as well as the connection to the higher self of that being. So when we start to drop into meditations, it allows the heart to slow, which relaxes the emotion grids, which in turn allows for that higher self to reflect that light frequency out, and it starts a process of rhythm. So all the other people's heart rates are going to become synchronized because the heart rate is slowed. Now, let's say you're in a lot of chaos. Whoever is the one meditating, whose ever heart is the slowest, that is going to generate the rhythm with all of the other hearts there in that location. So just imagine how absolutely powerful it would be if we took off our shoes and we go stand on the earth or sit down on the earth, get comfortable, cozy, and we start casting all of our thoughts into the earth. I love and I bless you, earth. Thank you for grounding and connecting me into the human consciousness grids. Thank you for accepting my love. Thank you for healing me. For Mother Earth starts to discharge the ions in the body, and the positive ions in the body become discharged, and she starts giving us the negative ones. The negative ions, this is called earth grounding. Negative ions start to generate inflammation. So in anti-inflammatory, the star people are correcting. It starts to make everything shrink. Cancer cells are cells that are expanded by inflammation. So when we start to focus on anti-inflammation, we start to shrink the cells, we start to become healthier. This is how the system works. It truly is brilliant. Now, when we start to do things of this nature, we can also generate a vortex energetic. A vortex energetic, this is what the whole let's go hug a tree thing is about. Inside each one of the trees, there is a vortex. It spirals. This is how the water is pushed using levitation up to the top of the tree. It gets pushed from Mother Earth. Mother Earth sends this vortex and it pushes it to the top. So we can start to tune into vortexes, and we can start to send our magnetism as well as our electrical systems up into the upper earth, tuning into the human consciousness grids. which is beautiful. So big changes can be made with one single person. The change doesn't have to start with millions of us. It can start with one person reflecting frequencies outward, which then starts to have an impact on everybody's consciousness grids. That is how powerful each and every one of us are. Now, when we start to recognize that each and every one of us are powerful, it changes the dynamics here, because now one person, we don't have to start a revolution. We can meditate. We can shine love and light. We can allow that frequency to reflect outwards. We can start a podcast. We can put our words out. We can shine love and light. There's a billion different ways, because there's a billion different star seeds or more. And then each and every one of us, we have our own personalities and our own filters and our own lenses that we cast our energetics out. So that is what I'm telling you guys to do. Shine bright and do something that fills your heart with so much love that it explodes. And then all the people around you get to witness that love. And then everybody starts to raise their frequency. This is how simple it is. And it starts with one person, which is brilliant. Now, let me take a sip. How's everyone doing tonight? Okay. Let's see. Cycle repeats and live save spots. So each and every person, TikTok, I may lose you because my battery's on like 10. I don't know if there's a way to fix that. Let me just try and see. You guys are going to have to go sideways. Let's see my friend's house. Okay, perfect. So each and every one of us, we go through and we generate a save spot daily. This happens normally when all of the planets are in a particular zodiac alignment. And so the zodiac alignment is all of the planets in alignment in the back of us. And so just imagine for 1 second, but he's saying it has to be in the south facing planetary alignments. This also sidereal time, he's saying, research sidereal time. And so when it is sidereal time, it allows for our intuitive thought processes to become amplified. So anybody who's a channel, this particular time of day, and he's saying the time of day changes every single day. So one day it could be at 1 p.m., one day it could be at 1:15. It changes because the way the planetary alignments are, it's ever changing according to the time because of the way the planets rotate, which is fantastic and fabulous. So when we become aware of the sidereal time, it is going to allow us to become aware of our highest intuitive moments. During those moments, we can manifest a save spot. Now, a save spot, just imagine for 1 second, all of the knowledge of all of your timelines and all of the work that we have done, we cast it upwards to the higher self. This allows the higher self to generate a save spot in the energy field so that, let's say our frequency does drop. Now, all of a sudden, the next morning, we can still pull down that knowledge from the save spot and we can vibrationally match to the frequency we want to match. When we start to make this a ritual, and here is the most important process, when we start to consciously, I am now manifesting a save spot. I call forward a save spot. That save spot, you're going to do it every single day. Now you could take your consciousness and you can cast your consciousness into the future and you can summon a save spot from the future. This is important because all knowledge is energy. When we are talking about past lives, present, and future lives, they're all happening right now in the now moment. So we have the ability to cast our consciousness into the future and to call back. He's showing me calling back that knowledge in a form of a save spot from the future, which then allows us the perception of activating that knowledge as needed, because some of the knowledge is not needed for us right now. Some could be harmful. The higher self is going to be the filter for all of that. But he's saying that some knowledge can jumpstart your evolution. And so making contact with the future self is of high value. Save spots are also of high value because it allows you to not dive deep. It allows you to, here's my level. This is where I was. And I'm going to instantaneously pull my frequency up to the spot that I saved. So it's kind of like, and my children and I, we were playing Mario, and my kids were like, you really only get 3 lives? And I was like, we're old school. You had to like be perfect to finish the game or find the warps, right? So you get to level 4, and they couldn't understand it because in their games, it's or you keep going and going until you finish. I'm like, that's not how it was. And so, but the game of life, we have dips and, you know, there's craters that we dive into, but a save spot, just imagine that you're in one of your ruts And all of a sudden you could drop into a meditation, you could pull a higher frequency that you know. So you know the safe spot because it's in your memory and you remember what it felt like to be there. Now, when you start summoning into the future, your future self knows what it feels like. So that feeling you're going to embody because it is known in your timeline. This is what we start to do when we start to do Akashic records as well. It is an emotion. That emotion is in a past life or a present life, a future life, either one. But that emotion code is key because that emotion code, you can consider that similar to a safe spot. The emotions is what controls the frequency that we currently embody. So if you're able to pull an emotion code from another place, whether it be a different time, place, or your imagination, you are going to be allowed to start harnessing the power of that emotion code. Emotion codes can be linked with other emotion codes. So just imagine for 1 second, we're talking about happiness and overwhelming excitement. So when we link both of those emotion codes together, it can give you a whole different aspect or perception of the two emotions. So emotion codes, you can link, I believe it's up to 9. He's showing me a 9. He's like, you can link 9 emotions together. Oh, and 9 is like a completion of a cycle. So it's like a circular form, 9. And then the completion is all of it. It's a 0. This is the numerology behind the binary codex frequency of the emotion codes, is what the star people are saying. Now, when we start to synchronize different emotion codes in this manner, string workers do this. And so just imagine they want to generate a manifestation of you manifesting an experiential. So an experiential is some type of experience that you wish to have. So we'll take one, let's manifest a car. And so now we need 9 different emotion codes. What does a car look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What do you feel like when you're signing the paperwork? Are you happy? Are you excited? That's 2 more emotion codes. You go through all 9. A string worker can take all these different emotion codes, spiral them all together into a string, and then pull a string from your heart and tie a little ribbon. And then all of a sudden, what it does is it changes your magnetism. Your magnetism is what allows for this experience to become manifest into your physical reality. So the second that we recognize each and every one of us can do this, we start doing it in a baby step process. Most of us start doing things with vision boards. How does that vision board make you feel? If you could take that vision board and all of a sudden you feel the emotions of how those items would make you feel over and over and over again, it's going to allow you to feel those emotions and then reflect outwards, and then all of a sudden the experiences come. Now, when you start to hold emotions, your body does not know that those emotions from whatever you are seeing is real or not real. This is the issue with watching TV. And that is specific. Your body doesn't know that what you're seeing on the TV is fake. And so your body is going to give a signal like it has just seen a trauma or tragedy directly in front of it. So now that we can recognize that this is the way the body works, this is the way the mind works, it makes us very, very aware and conscious when it comes to what emotion codes we wish to resonate with. So by putting yourself in such a state of focusing on positive, of course, this is real life. Bad stuff is kind of unavoidable. But when it does happen, it is how quickly you can rebalance and regain the higher frequencies that counts. And so you guys may be going through your dark nights of the soul. I've been there too. We must experience darkness to slingshot us up into the light realm. That's okay too. When you are experiencing the darkness, if you can just stop, put your hands over your heart and just think of something that you're happy and grateful for. Imagine and visualize what it feels like to be unconditionally loved, and start to really summon these high frequency emotions into your body. You could take water. When you take a bottle of water, you can summon the emotions into the water. You could drink it, and then it starts tuning into you at the cellular structures inside of the water in each and every cell. That starts to reprogram your biologics, and just place conscious focus and attention as far as what you are watching. Because whatever it is you are watching, if you are watching something that is giving you more knowledge, that more knowledge is triggering new brainwave activity, which is electrical in its nature. And that brainwave activity grants you access into the higher frequency ranges, because light is electrical. Your brainwaves are electrical in their nature. New knowledge, new patterns of brainwave processes, that's electrical. So study, Focus on education, focus on metaphysical knowledge, focus on anything that makes your heart jump for joy. Because when your heart jumps for joy, then all of a sudden you are putting your magnetism into that electrical system, which then in turn is going to allow that to manifest more and more into your physical reality. This is how the process is done. Now, the second that we can do all of that, and we can do it, and we can shine bright, and we love and light every single aspect of our lives, that allows us to really bring cohesion to, and it's not only your life, it's also the location ring. The location ring is everything that you see when you leave your door. It's all the locations. Now, I'm not saying right now in this very moment that each and every one of us can change the civilization ring. We have to be at a certain level of consciousness to do that. We change our frequency and that civilization ring changes, and it reflects back to us what our frequency is. My location ring, when I leave my house, there could be chaos in everyone else's reality, but where I am in the now moment, it's always peaceful. It's always loving, caring, kind. It's like the universe puts me at the right place at the right time to laugh and experience joy and bliss and to just have a wonderful day. That's all that I'm happy for, right? I always, every day was like, I am happy just to be here in this moment and have this experience with these people. And I put my phone down and I smile and I laugh, and it doesn't matter where we are. We're always trying our hardest to have a good time when we're not doing the shadow work, because the shadow work is a whole nother ball game. That's something that we have to consciously go inside to release our densities. So that's okay too. Every single one of us, we have to have density if we're in the 3D reality. That's just the bottom line. If you didn't have a single speck of density on you, your rainbow body of light would be activated. You'd be out of here. You wouldn't be in the 3D world. We wouldn't be able to see you. Can we see the angels? Not really, not unless you have an attunement, your eyes are open. They're too high of a frequency for the physical reality. They can come down here, but they have to take on a 3D body to make themselves known or to allow us to see them. And once again, unless your pineal gland is open, and then you could see into that density level. But I'm telling you, if you're in a 3D body, you have density in there. That's okay too. Some of the greatest monks and spiritual teachers on the planet, they had one thing that was dense. One piece of density, and that specifically they kept it there so that it grounded them into the 3D world. This way they were able to do their work teaching people. The second that their work was complete was the second that they released that density and they shot up into the 5D realms or higher, the star people are saying, which allowed for them to expand the rainbow body of light. And it basically is like full-blown activation into the extrasensory ability range, because when you truly activate the rainbow body of light, all of the senses start to turn on very rapidly, the star people are saying. Wonderful. What time is it? 7:47. Okay, let me take a sip. How's everyone doing? All of the archangels have different frequencies. And so when we start to talk about, there's angel magic. Angel magic. Now, most of you guys know I do attachment releases. This is what I do in my sessions with people. And so the sessions, removing the attachments is removing the dark messengers. The dark messengers, there's different names for them. I don't want to freak people out. But dark messengers, then we have neutral messengers. The range of neutral messengers, those guys latch on to us when we're doing things like tying our shoes, putting on our clothes, taking a shower. Maybe not taking a shower, it's a real bad example. But they latch on to us when we're doing tiny things. It's neutral. It's not positive. It's not negative. It's just life things, right? But then we also have positive messengers. The positive messengers, the star people have told me, are angels. And so each angel, now we take a look, because my mom bought an angel deck, and the angel deck had a bunch of different angel names, and they were all associated with different birthdays and star charts and stuff. So they told me each angel has an emotion code. So when we start to summon that emotion code, it's going to allow the light messengers access into our grid system. So it like opens the door and it allows the angels. We kind of know this though, because I grew up Catholic and they always told you, pray for the angels to come and then the angels will help you. That's the same exact thing. Those are light messengers. The dark messengers, those are the lower emotion codes that we experience. Anger, violence, sadness, death, all those things, they're lower emotion codes. So when we start to recognize, oh, okay, they're only messengers, we control them. So we can say, whatever dark emotion code, get off and go home. But we can start to say, thank you, angel, or thank you, high emotion code. Thank you, saint frequency, for latching onto me. Thank you for helping me to make it easier and easier to start to embody that high frequency range. Or you can even say, thank you, unconditional love, for latching onto me. That's a high frequency. And then all of a sudden, the more and more you say it over and over, like I said, your body doesn't know that this world is real. The more you start to place your focus and attention, the more that's going to change your magnetism, the more that's going to expand for you. So keep focusing on unconditional love, even if you don't feel it right away. Just keep saying it. I am unconditional love. Tap your heart twice. Everybody do it now. I am unconditional love. Tap your heart twice. Now you have just opened the doorway for that unconditional love angel to latch onto you. And then you may start to notice that manifesting into your physical reality, because now you have invoked that emotion code. So let's say, for an example, you're going through the dark night of the soul and you have all this darkness around you. Start to summon the high frequency emotion codes, because there's messengers attached that are going to help you. There's another thing, because the angels and all these beings, you can see them in certain churches. And so even if we're not religious, go sit in a church for 5 or 10 minutes, because they'll latch onto you, because that's summoning them is walking into their location. We know this too, because what happens when we walk into like an abandoned house? Let's say there's graffiti all over the walls. The walls are all broken. There's drug paraphernalia. How do you feel? You feel like, I got to get out of here. And why is that? Because there's emotion codes in that location. Whatever location that you put your body in, the frequency of that location is going to be absorbed. We take a look at Sedona. Now, Sedona is filled with vortexes, and tons of people have reported, oh, you don't go there unless you're attuned to the higher frequencies, because it'll make you sick. What is the vortexes doing? It's knocking all of the density off of your energy field so that you can start to embody more of a high frequency. That's what it's doing. So the locations affect our frequency. So we want to take that and we want to take it into our personal lives where we can use power behind it. So now you take a look at your location. What are some things that you guys can do to make your location 5% a higher frequency? The first thing we should do, I love and I bless your location. This is what we do. We have a bowl of sage and we light the sage and I love and bless your house. It's so much fun. And then you do it and then you feel better because you know the house has been blessed. Sage neutrals out the energy. So when we neutral out the energy, it allows, whether the positive or the light, it allows us to clear the darkness out of the home. So that's why I do it, because when I do the sessions with people, it's like, oh, let's burn some smoke and get it nice and clean and fresh. It's wonderful. Okay. Bricks of consciousness. This is very important because many times people come to me and they want to know things like, who is my star family? Who's talking to me? Who's communicating with me? Now, I'll tell you this from personal experience, but I also know for solid fact, you are in a brick of consciousness. This brick of consciousness is going to give you access into different emotions, different cycle repeats that you each have to go through. Now, for example, we take a look at your childhood. What memories, what experiences, what traumas did you go through? Those all imprint the energetic grid complex, which then in turn starts a cycle repeat. That cycle repeat must be repeated until you can go through that cycle and hold love and light to the cycle. The second that you can hold love and light to the cycle, it transmutates that cycle. So the second that we understand that, we can understand, oh, okay, in this brick of consciousness, these are my lessons. You can jumpstart the process by focusing on the brick of consciousness and sending love and light to all the cycles inside of it. And then placing focus and attention on what behavior patterns am I running right now? Because your behavior patterns that you're running right now is going to have an effect on every single thing. So whatever toxic behaviors that you have running, try and eliminate them. Send them love and light. It's okay. I release you. Right now, also, we are in a release energetic. And so you may be going through shadow work. That's okay too. It's just in the energy field. So we all got to, especially all the star seeds, in the past couple of days, we got triggered to release. And then there was a cycle repeat mark where it was like we saw cycle repeats coming to us. That's okay too. So we just do the best we can. When we start to place attention and we start to become aware, oh, okay, this is what the energy is. Let me dive and do some shadow work. And then, okay, this is what the energy is. Let me send it love and light when I see something I don't like. We do meditations, group meditations, get 3 or more people together. You guys can do it. You can send in your times when you guys are going to do meditations. And if it's in alignment, we could try and do a meditation. That's great too. I don't mind. And so let's see. Cutting cords with earlier versions of ourself. And this is just how powerful we truly are. Let's take, for an example, there's something about your current timeline that you just don't like, right? So you can dive into a meditation. You can go back in time so that you witness the first time you ever experienced that. So, well, let's just take smoking cigarettes. So that you go into your memory, you go into your consciousness, the first time that you ever experienced smoking a cigarette. And then all of a sudden, I want you to cut the cord to that experience. So you are releasing the emotion, which every single experiential is an emotion code, because you're having that experience because of an emotion. If your emotion was fine-tuned differently, you never would have picked up the cigarette. It just wouldn't have manifested in your life. So go in and start cutting the cords during your meditation. Now, if you guys are smokers and you're doing this, it's going to make it easier for you to quit. And that is because you have removed the emotion code to the original imprint. We know this in some senses as shadow work, because when we start to go into shadow work, we have to look at the first imprint of whatever trauma it is. This smoking cigarettes is not really a trauma. It's a memory, but we can consider it an experiential, and we can cut the cords to it, which then releases it in time. And I tell you this with 100% certainty from my heart to yours, in time, we are going to have a fully activated memory grid complex to the degree, and when our instantaneous manifestations are readily available or running, the star people are saying, it'll give us access to go into the memory grid and to cut these energy cords from that memory. And when we open our eyes from the meditation, it will disappear from our lives. But that's only removing the cords. We can also energetically cast the cords, which is going to allow us to instantaneous manifest. When we start doing that, the true multidimensional nature of ourselves becomes fully activated, which then in turn starts the manifestation process. So we go back in time and we speak to an earlier version of ourselves, and we start to implant a memory. It could be any memory. When we open our eyes from the meditation, it has the true potential to shift the location that we are currently sitting in. That is how powerful we are. We are multidimensional in our nature. And when we start to activate our multidimensionality, it allows us to instantaneously manifest by going in the internal circumstances, the star people are saying. Wonderful. We got 3 minutes. We'll do one more question. Emotion summoning. Now, we kind of already covered this one. It's funny how that happens. Sometimes we just talk about it and it's here on the list. So emotional summoning is when we are calling up an emotion that we wish to express. And so we can pick any emotion. The higher frequency range emotions are very high value because each emotion must be in alignment with a particular density level. So when we start to summon 5D emotions, what does that even feel like? Can we even imagine what a 5D emotion feels like? Just imagine that for 1 second. How exciting must it be to spontaneously manifest an item? And when we can see it, when we can visualize it, and when we can have it manifest right in front of us, that is a 5D frequency. I've seen things manifest right in front of my eyes. I've seen it, so I know what it feels like. So the trick of it is summoning that emotion and constant conscious focus and attention on calling up that emotion. Think of it like a memory. Call up the memory. Visualize the memory like you're seeing it on a TV screen, because your body doesn't know it's real or fake in the simulation. So keep seeing it in the mind's eye. See it happen over and over and over again. If you guys want to levitate, that's what you do. You close your eyes and you see it happening. It's actually... it's levitation, levity, which pushes the body up from the earth. You guys can sit into a type of meditation, and you could just imagine and visualize levitating off the ground. This is real. You can also blow the wind. You can call the wind. You can summon the wind. Many times people, they turn around and they say, oh, I knew it was going to rain because my knee hurt. And so that's not me because I don't want to manifest it, but that's other people in the reality. So that tells you that there is a sense inside of the body that we can activate that's going to tell us when bad weather comes. Now, that's also a trauma frequency emotion. This is natural because whenever there is going to be trauma on the surface of the earth, it is going to allow an electrical magnetism pulse from each and every individual energetic grid complex to pulse outwards. This is how the human consciousness grid works, because then all of our energy grids start to bond with each other, and it allows this frequency to fully engulf the entire planetary surface. This happened during 9/11 as well. And so there was different human-based technologies that could pick up the electrical magnetism of such a pulse. So when we recognize a trauma frequency emotion coding, it usually slows time and space, because when we slow time and space, it grants us access into a lower frequency. Lower frequencies are trauma. So cold is a lower frequency. We can look at the cold because the atoms and molecules are under a state of vibratory frequency, which means they're moving, they're vibrating. So when things are cold, it is going very slow. When a human form, it becomes deceased, the body gets cold, the atoms and molecules are going very slow. That's because we removed the light. The light is heat. When we are hot, we were more embodied in love. When you drink a hot cup of coffee, the emotion of love is automatically activated. So heat brings the emotions of love, joy, and bliss. Cold things slow down the atoms and molecules. And so we have to start to use both. When we start to activate the fight or flight systems, we use cold. This is why I don't know how many of you guys are doing the cold water plunges with me. I did 12 minutes today. I'm like, go me, I'm a champion. And so 12 minutes in an ice bath, amazing. I had no idea. But who's ever in Patchogue, New York, and Long Island, if you guys want to join me for ice baths, this is what we're doing this week. I'm here for a week and a half. So just send me a message and we'll hook up a time. So when we start to activate the fight or flight systems by diving into cold, it grants us access into the control system of the holographic simulation, which is exactly how we start to activate not only the fight or flight systems, but you can pull your consciousness back from the physical reality as you see it. Now, this is also what we are able to do during the ice bath. You pull your consciousness back and you activate your heat. When you start to activate your heat, your chi energetic systems become more activated, which allows the perception of heat to form outside of the physical body. Baby steps, right? Because it takes a while to do. But then if your hand is under the water and you are consciously focused on activating your chi energetics, when you move your hand, you're going to feel this big wave of heat, and then you're going to reach into the ice water. That's how this works. The more and more you practice on activating that chi energetic systems, it's electrical in its nature, but it also controls the thermostat, which is in the upper heart chakra. When you start to control your thermostat, your body doesn't have to shiver. They told me this in 2019. In 2019, I was a smoker. It was Parliament Menthol Light 100s. I was outside. It was freezing. I was shivering. My jaw was shivering. And I was like, this is an $11 cigarette. I was not going to throw it out. It was so young, just in 2019. And so my starman came and he was like, you don't have to shiver. And I felt him like touch me. And it was like, and the shivers just instantaneously stopped. And I was like, there's no way he just did that. And he did. He completely shut off my shivers. And I enjoyed my cigarette, and that was a wrap. I quit, so I don't smoke anymore. It's been a whole transformation you guys have seen. It's wonderful. But the same thing we're able to do in the ice bath. And so for that brief moment, you hop in, and it's like, oh, it's cold. And then it's like, and you just rebalance the emotions that your body is experiencing, and you start to take control of the emotions that you are emitting, which starts to control the entire physical form. So some people, when we activate the fight or flight systems, it grants access into extra strength when we need it, because think about it, the body is trying to survive. This is a survival mechanism. When we consciously activate it because we want to activate it, it's giving us access into the control systems of we want to survive. So we want the extrasensory abilities to become activated. So I'm going to keep activating this system until I'm able to lift a car without having to activate the system. That's how the system works. So With that, it is 8:03. You guys have many, many love and blessings. We are doing the shadow work Zoom tonight. It is going to have to be short. So maybe 30 minutes max, but everyone, you guys should have the link. The link is the same for every week. Everyone who wants to come, just send a message through daniellipton.com and I will send out a Zoom link so you guys can join us. The shadow work Zoom, we dive in. We'll probably be doing like chakra clearings or some sort of meditation and having the star people reprogram our energy field and rebalancing our emotions back to love and light. So you guys have many, many love and blessings. You have a wonderful night. And for TikTok and Instagram, we do our lives Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. every week. So twice a week. It's a lot of knowledge, a lot of information. So we only do it twice. Thank you guys for coming and many, many love and blessings. Excellent.